early as the last chance opens up. Orders up a double right in his coffee cup. Then he heads off for the jukebox like he always does to play $2 worth of George Jones. He stopped loving her today. There's a jukebox at the Last Chance Saloon. 5 songs for $1, it'll play their favorite tune. Some will laugh, some will cry, some howl at the moon, while they listen to the jukebox at the Last Chance Saloon.
Here's your host, Randy Fincham.
Oh my gosh, man, Andy, gosh, I'll never get used to that. But my gosh, we've got a great show coming up tonight. We already had a great show, Carney Royal, and we had a great group right, and we got the song finished. Not only did we get the song finished, she performed it on the stage tonight. So I thought, Jason, you asked her, and she did it. I'm going to start pushing a little harder like that. But, oh, my gosh. It's been a fantastic week. I love it when Tuesday comes around. Who needs Saturdays and Sundays? We don't need those anymore. Sunday, though, speaking of Sunday, we had a great vinyl show, the 50s and 60s. And, initially I'm thinking, well, I don't know any 50s and 60s songs, but I do. I mean, because what more? I mean, as far as placement in TV and films, David Graham, maybe you know, there's a lot of 50s and 60s songs that are placed in countless TV shows and films all the way through the last 40, 50, 60 years, which in turn leads to many generations knowing what these songs are. But
that's the first time I ever saw your face turn pale from a lack of sleep.
Oh
I know you pushed yourself that day to actually make it.
This was a long way.
And that vinyl show was kind of historic because that was the first time all of us was together under the same roof.
That was awesome.
On air.
Now you know that producer Brian is indeed real.
He's real. He is real. Yeah. He's not
a computer program.
He's not the Wizard of Oz. Yeah. He's not, there and
he's behind the curtain. He is kind of like the Wizard of Oz. Yeah.
He kind of is.
I want a new brain. Well, he's ignoring us. Why does he ignore us now? I think Mark and Jason just get him so mad that he don't want to talk to us anymore.
I believe
he's had it by the time we come on the air. Hey, prayer request, Mr. Chris Cataldo up from our affiliate up in New York City, HeatFMRadio.com. His dad is in the hospital. Flu symptoms or it's let me look and see. It's pneumonia, and he may have an ulcer. That's what it is. So everybody, please keep Chris Cataldo as the dad in your prayer, and Chris and all the family. We love you, Chris, man. Call us and update us if you're listening. Phil Holland, his dad's also still in the hospital. What is it, Dorsey? Dorsey's his father's name, Dorsey Holland, if I'm not mistaken. So please pray for him, and everybody pray for us down here. We got some bad weather coming
and don't
tonight.
Forget Jason's mom as well.
Yes, Jason's mom, as she begins her treatments, and big-time prayers out for her. We love you, man. We love you. Weather is supposed to move in down there. We're broadcasting from the Last Chance Saloon, 8144 McMinnville Highway in between Manchester and McMinnville, Tennessee. And we're about an hour south of Nashville for any new listeners out there. We're supposed to have some bad weather move through, starting about 3 a.m., lasting through about 1 p.m. tomorrow. That's a large window of thunderstorms. And there was a bad omen while the Midnight Madness show was going on. Jason, I don't know if you guys noticed this. The back door there, the wind's already blowing hard enough where the door just opens on its own. That are some of those ghosts that we hear stories of. Yeah. Remember about 3 ghosts that come in this place, right? Whew, gosh. Well, prayers for everybody. Let's get to the show. This is what I've been looking forward to for a long, long time. Mr. Andy Parton, awesome Andy. We got new names. We finally got nicknames like the Hillbilly Heartthrob and the DJ Doctor.
Awesome, I call him.
Awesome Andy. We call him Awesome Andy. Awesome Andy and Rockin' Randy. So we finally got nicknames, and we finally with those nicknames we got a fantastic guest tonight, a legend. He's got a great story, been all over the world. It's not necessarily the number of places, it's the uniqueness of each place this guy's lived and how it comes through in his music. Dublin, Ontario, Canada, and then Hollywood, And the Hollywood country scene has always fascinated me. I mean, I don't know a whole lot about it, but what I know has always fascinated me because it's kind of like an oasis in an otherwise pop or rock and roll desert, and played for 20 years with Wally and the Wild West show everywhere and he's out of Montana. So, gosh, very honored to have this guy on the show tonight. One of those, I pinch myself. He's actually going to be on our show? Wow, that's awesome.
It's hard to believe he's actually sitting here with us.
Well, let's let the cat out of the bag. Everybody, please make welcome Mr. Ray Doyle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Woo.
Yeah.
Andy, you want to kick this one off? You're the one that told me about Ray, and I thought, wow, really? Yeah, gosh, let's definitely have him on.
I'll tell you how I found Ray, and it was a friend of mine that I knew 20 years back. His name is Shane Queener, and he was playing with Wally as well, but I didn't realize that Ray had previously played with Wally and the Wild West, but it just happened to be that Shane hosts a songwriters round there at Whiskey River Bar and Grill in Lebanon, and I saw Ray's YouTube video. I came across it, and which we're going to hear this one song in particular a little bit later on the show, which is incredible. I'll let you realize which one it is when he plays, because I'm sure you'll like it. But I heard him, and it was a songwriting. It was so detailed. The storytelling in it was perfect. It captured the time. It was something that struck me. But then I noticed later Shane was making another post about an upcoming artist that was going to be at that songwriters event, and I saw Ray Doyle's name. So the crazy guy I am, I go after things. If I see something I think is really unique, and as far as an artist, I've got to get over there. So I drove all the way to Lebanon, Tennessee, from McMinnville to hear Ray play that one night. And we kind of hit off because we have an Irish connection that's unique as well. And Ray's story is more than just music. It's an American dream. It's about what our ancestors do for us to provide a better future, the sacrifices that they make. And Ray's story is unique as far as leaving Ireland from Dublin. He made it to Liverpool, and then he come over on a ship which was called the Olympia, and made it into Quebec, Canada. And from there, Ray, tell us a little bit about that journey as you came in and how it led you on into California and into the people that you actually met.
Okay, well, let's see. A long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Ray Skywalker's our guest tonight.
I love it. Well, when I was 8 years old, I had an uncle, my mom's oldest brother, who was kind of an adventurer, and he'd been in the RAF, the Royal Air Force, and been to Northern Africa, and been to Southeast Asia when Siam was still on the map, and he ended up emigrating to Canada, and he was a trained operatic tenor, and sang at weddings and funerals, etc. And made friends in Canada. Well, he made friends wherever he went. And he moved on from Canada after a few years. And the people who helped him out initially offered to help my family out too if we were making the trip. So we ended up living in the same little house that my uncle had rented. And he left an old radio for me there, so I sit there and scan the airwaves at night. We hadn't gotten our first TV yet.
What was some of the music you heard on that when you were scanning the open airwaves?
Well, actually, even before I left Ireland, Marty Robbins. We heard if we wanted to hear rock and roll, we'd listen to Radio Luxembourg. And and my grandmother had a shortwave radio, no TVs, but I'd listen to Ships at Sea, and then go over to Radio Luxembourg and try to hear some Bill Haley and the Comets, and and some country stuff.
And Luxembourg, for everybody out there, it's that little tiny nation. It's right there under Germany.
Yeah.
Right there. I guess it's under Germany.
It's probably lucky to be its own country.
Wow. Yes. Did they broadcast it in German? I know the songs weren't in German, but the DJs and all that. Did you pick up on some German when you were?
No, it was the English when I was listening to it, and then soon after that they got in England they were doing pirate radio.
Wow.
Where they'd have a, BBC wasn't carrying it, so they'd have a ship off the coast somewhere broadcasting from there. It was kind of like when I got to California and the big transmitters were down at the Mexican border.
Yes.
And we'd hear Wolfman Jack, broadcasting.
Great era of
from
radio.
there.
My gosh, yeah.
But I was always fascinated with radio, and that's how I kind of got to know the places that I went to live. But to make a long story even longer, we left Dublin when I was 8.
We got time, man. Go ahead. Okay. I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
In that case, I'll talk slower. We left Dublin, went through Liverpool, and I ended up in Quebec. And my dad had been over in Canada for 6 months trying to get a job and get situated. And we got there, and all of a sudden we were in a little town called Odessa, Ontario, which I don't know if there was a couple of hundred people there. It was basically just a little truck stop.
Now you mentioned on your website about, it was very, and this is the songwriter in you too, I'm sure, that, you were very descriptive about the era that you were in. Oh gosh, I'm trying to find that, Ray, in Ireland, where that I just love the way that you described where you were at, how horses would walk on the road with the automobiles, yeah. And I'm not saying that right because I've lost it here, but when drought horses still shared the road with autos and bicycles, it was kind of a was that a small town like you ended up with in Ontario, or was it a kind of a different world from you? It
was
into the
a completely
ocean?
different world because it was a small town on a main road, and just a small number. It was like I said, a junction, maybe a couple of hundred people.
Wow.
And that was the first time I ever saw semis. I loved that at night, watching them out my bedroom window, watching them go by in the lights on the semis, and so that was a big thrill. But like I say, it was almost going back, a generation or two from what we were doing in Ireland. Like I said, cobblestone streets in downtown Dublin. Dublin is 1,000 years old and started as a Viking colony.
Wow. So I saw you mention that. I was like, wow, 1,000
so it's,
years.
It's been around for a while. And you do some traveling in Europe and you come back here and you go, gosh, nothing here is really that old, Well, it is really that old. There just weren't people here back then.
That's true. Now, did the love of radio carry over to when you were on the shores of North America in this tiny town? Did the shortwave radio, was there as many stations to choose from or similar stations?
It was basically me just amusing myself with the shortwave. I'd get to my grandmother's house and people were doing stuff, and I'd sit there with the wireless, as she called it, and just try to dial something in. And but I remember when we were in Canada, I got my first little record player, and the first record I ever bought was the Battle of New Orleans.
Oh, yes, yes.
So that was, I think, would be 59, I think, is when that was. And what I really liked about that was it said, we caught the bloody British. And I thought, oh, yeah, geez, they swore in that song, But we were in Canada then for about 3 years, and my adventuresome uncle, John, he had gotten himself out to California and was working in the airlines at the time, and he was very good friends with a Mexican-American family. He was they had 2 daughters who were working in the airlines as flight attendants, and they were both gorgeous. And I'm got to Canada, got to Hollywood when I was 12 years old, and I first laid eyes on a gorgeous Latina. And forever warped my mind, but
that happens quite often.
It does. In fact, there's a song dedicated to one of their daughters on the CD,
awesome.
The Emigrant Trail CD.
Yes, so fantastic CD that Andy let me listen to. I love it. When did music come into the picture? When you started playing guitar? Or was it guitar you started playing first, when did that come into the picture? I was
always interested, but I guess being a musician was in the family. It was never really looked on as something that you'd want to do as a career. My uncle had operatic training. He'd studied in Italy. He hitchhiked all over Europe in the 50s, and he had everything going for him. He was really good looking and had a great voice, and he was working for the airlines. So I didn't get that kind of encouragement, but my folks helped me get my first guitar and amp. So then the floodgates were open. But that was about the time in the middle 60s when the Beatles were happening. And I was going to a Catholic high school taught by the Brothers of St. Patrick. So it was like I might as well have been just put back in Ireland for a little bit there for high school.
Wow.
But being as close to Hollywood as we were living in Southern California, I got to hear some great live music, and that started getting me, interested in it.
Anyway, go ahead.
I remember, you told me, this might have been a little bit later, as you are a little bit older around the music scene. I believe that was during when Crosby, Still, and Nash was there. You used to sit and listen to those guys and stuff.
Oh, yeah, they were huge. All of those, the folk rock guys from the Byrds on, that was like that was like 64, 65 when that stuff started happening, and it was always, that was a huge wake-up call for me. Like, that was the great combination of, like, that was Americana to me. It was, folk rock.
Oh, yes. So, touch on the LA years when we get back. How about a song here, and then that'll take us up to the 9 o'clock break.
All right.
And tell us about this. So, hey, if anybody wants to call in too, I always forget this when I should announce it. When the show comes in, you can call us, say hi to Ray, and say hi to Andy, and anybody, say hi, ask a question to, area code 845-584-1067. Our very special guest, honored to have Mr. Ray Doyle here tonight. That guitar was sounding so good when you were warming up in the sound check, and can't wait to hear some music.
Oh, well, I'm going to change that right now, but well, I'll start off with the title track of the CD that it was talking about. It's called The Emigrant Trail, and this is the song that kind of sets the whole thing up, and with emigration in the news so much lately, it's Irish music and Irish people have been coming to the United States for a very long time, and the music came through Appalachia and into country music, so anyway, so this is it's a sort of a true story, because the 9 days on the North Atlantic going by ship to Canada was brutal, and we hit a hurricane. So this song mentions something like that. So, but anyway, this is The Emigrant Trail. I was born in Kilkenny, one of the many ones who left homeland, family and friends, with a dangerous notion to cross the wild ocean for a brand new beginning or a desperate end. At 30 days sailing came the wind and the wailing. The sea was a churning black bottomless well. Amid the moaning and screaming, wished I was dreaming. We might as well have been all going to hell. Who will be sacrificed? Who will be saved? Who is foolhardy and who are the brave? Many may perish, but some will prevail. With hope at the end of the emigrant trail. I came to your city for work, not for pity, not to be told my kind need not apply. So in labor like slavery, saved what they gave me, and rode my own horse towards Montana's big sky. I'd heard every story of riches and glory. At the Grand Anaconda, a man could go far. But soon I had traded my pride and my wages for faro and opium, brothel and bar. Who will be sacrificed? Who will be saved? Who is foolhardy and who are the brave? Many may perish, but some will prevail. There's hope at the end of the emigrant trail. I fought off my troubles with picks and with shovels, in mines and in trenches from Dublin to Butte, where it's hard to believe in the Garden of Eden while helping the devil to harvest his fruit. Who will be sacrificed? Who will be saved? Who is foolhardy and who are the brave? Many may perish, but some will prevail. With hope at the end of the emigrant trail. Who will be sacrificed? Who will be saved? Who is foolhardy and who are the brave? Many may perish, but some will prevail. With hope at the end of the emigrant trail.
Ray Doyle, Nashville Night leads us right up to the 9 o'clock break. I definitely want to talk to you about that song and some other things. We're just getting started here, everybody. Stay tuned. We're going to take just a little break and be right back here on the Nashville Songwriters Radio Network.
You're listening to Music City's finest on the Nashville Songwriters Radio Network, NSRNlive.com.
Yeah, and you're listening to what we just said there. Had a little miscue there, whoopsie. But yeah, anyways, Brian, the IT Guru here with you, your producer tonight for both shows, Midnight Madness and Nashville Night. Both great shows, and we have lots of great live stuff every week, every month, every day. It seems like on here, lots of stuff happening. Check us out. Our Facebook page is Nashville Songwriters Radio Network. This week's guest on Nashville Night, as you are listening to, is Ray Doyle, multi-award winning songwriter. So great intro here, and we're going to get to find out more about him shortly. Don't forget, speaking of live events, we're going to have a great one with Johnny Moore Tribute coming up March 10th. That's going to be in Crossville, Tennessee, as Mr. Hillbilly Heartthrob announced earlier. What a great guy. Lots of great songs he's wrote over the years, and we're going to be bringing it to you live. So back to the show here, Nashville Night on Nashville Songwriters Radio Network.
Back to more great music and interviews on Nashville Night.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you, Producer Brian. And we finally got Andy. We did it. We got to the break on time. I think that might qualify us to be professional broadcasters from here on out, right? Yeah. Crystal, give us 2 thumbs up. The lovely Crystal, who's working the bar here, she give us 2 thumbs up. So we're professionals now. And, gosh, we got an awesome 2. Yeah, we're fine. Fantastic, I think. Yes, ma'am. We got the fabulous Mr. Ray Doyle here tonight. Phone number to call is area 845-584-1067. Oh, my gosh, the door opened again. The wind's blowing hard enough where the doors, that's where the door's opening by itself.
Next week, you guys can write about the Haint.
Oh yeah,
The Last Chance.
Oh man, I noticed about your lyrics. They're so descriptive. The one that you wrote about Yellowstone that hopefully you'll play later, and in that one that you just played, that's your life.
Well, sorry, yeah, I dressed it up a little bit, but I tried to get the idea of, the album was kind of a concept album, and it was, it's a journey west. So I'm going to use my story as an example, going from Dublin and ending up in Butte, Montana, which is actually where I played the last show with Wiley. But so many Irish people ended up in Butte because the copper mine there was being run by an Irish guy. The Anaconda Mine was a huge destination, I guess, for Irish. In fact, someone said they would have signs in New York when people came off the ships, and it was like, don't stop in America, go straight to Butte.
Wow.
Or something to that, Butte, America is a very, there's a lot of pride up there.
Wow, and I was thinking about when you're talking about this, you went way west, Dublin to Butte, that's going about as west as you can get. That's half the earth. west.
Just about, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what, 6,000 miles or so.
Yeah,
at
see,
least,
Andy,
yeah.
Andy. Well, I know I'm jumping around here, but Andy was saying something about your album. Fantastic album, by the way. The producer of the album.
Yeah, we talked about that, and you had told me earlier a little bit about the background, the individual that produced the album. So can you talk just a little bit, to give us just a little nugget of who that individual is and who he's worked with? As a matter of fact, tonight in Nashville at Memorial Auditorium, Sting is performing.
Oh, wow.
And I had a friend was offering me a ticket to go, but you know what? There's no way I was going to miss this
No, this
opportunity.
is better than
There's no
I
way.
respect Sting,
I'm
but
not-
we got Ray Doyle here.
We got Ray Doyle.
Yes.
Oh gosh, I should have one name to say, but well, there were actually two guys that co-produced the record, Mr. Bob Rice and Harry Orloff. And Harry is an amazing guitar player and session guy around L.A., and he's featured prominently on the CD. So all the cool stuff is him, and all the other stuff is me. But Bob Rice is also an amazing musician as well as being a tech. He's Andy wanted me to drop some names here, but Bob got to start working with Frank Zappa actually, and knows about as much about synthesizers and keyboards as anybody in the world, and so he gets hired regularly to go out on tour with big names, and he toured with Paul Simon and Sting for a lot of that. A couple of years ago, I guess they were out. He did Paul Simon at the Ryman Auditorium. And he's been out with Neil Young and Crazy Horse for the last couple of years too.
Wow.
So he runs the gamut. So
as you're listening to his CD, you're going to hear the masters of their crafts.
it's a pretty good mix.
And that mix it's really good.
Yeah.
Right now, you would hear the instrumentals behind him as he was playing Immigrant Trail. You'd hear a flute, and so many things that makes that song even richer on that album. So definitely listen to that. If you get a chance on YouTube, find the Immigrant Trail and listen to it.
yeah. In fact, I have there's a video on there too, actually, for the Immigrant Trail. So my website is down at the moment, but you can find out all about me at cowboypoetry.com/raydoyle.htm.
Cowboypoetry.com. That's what I'm looking at right now. I love this. I love this page, by the way, because it really does describe you well, and it paints a fascinating picture of who you are. Because you play Western music, Irish music, and you have so many different locations, influence. Once you settled into Southern California, the family did. You got to see a lot. I mean, you're in Southern California. You're going to get to see A-list bands come through.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you saw these bands, the Beatles, the Byrds, Buffalo Springfield. That had to shape your musical journey quite a bit, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
After being in such small towns in Canada, to be in Southern California, a very populous area, entertainment ground zero, what was that like to go to that change?
Well, for me, it was very exciting because, the 64, 65 was when everything was really happening in Hollywood, and they were marching on the Sunset Strip, and all, the clubs were, the Riot on the Sunset Strip is a movie that's probably still out. But you could, there were festivals. They hadn't really gotten into the Love-Ins yet. That was later in the 60s. But then it was, I had a little motor scooter, and my buddy and I'd go up to Hollywood and, get to see some shows. And, I had a friend who, I guess then there were 4 or 5 different television shows that would have groups on and would lip sync. The Byrds would be on doing their newest hit, or the Mamas and Papas, or whoever at the time. And a friend of mine would get me tickets to go to these various, shows, and stand in the background and clap out a tune or out a time. And so I got to up close to see some of the very colorful characters of the day. And later in the 60s, I worked in a record store in Hollywood, and it was a very well-known record shop, one of the first places in Hollywood that had full catalog. If Columbia Records had we would have every Columbia record available,
wow.
2 copies.
That had to be a huge store then, wasn't
It was a pretty good. It was before the big store, before Tower Records. It was called Vogue Records, Books and Records.
Yes.
And a huge classical selection. Zubin Mehta would shop there. Carole King would come in. We'd have, it was quite a great place to work. And I worked. I would close up at midnight.
Now, where were you at musically at this time?
At that point,
where were you
I
wanting to go?
was still, garage band kind of stuff. I had a band that played Beatle tunes, and I was trying to write. Actually, I started writing kind of country type tunes. For some reason, that appealed to me. And in those days, you could listen to the radio and you'd hear Frank Sinatra and then Johnny Cash and then the Ventures.
Wow.
Everything was mixed up, and it was great to get the whole thing. And of course, Bakersfield being very close by, Buck Owens, Merle Haggard were the guys.
Yeah.
So that was that was a big deal and a touchstone for me. Getting to be in Hollywood at that time.
Oh yes.
And then later in the 70s and 80s when the punk rock thing was going, there was a second wave of like country, because there was a whole series of bars in the San Fernando Valley that we could actually make a few bucks playing an evening of classic country. So Dwight Yoakam and a lot of those, Rosie Flores and Lonesome Strangers, some of the other bands that came out at that time. There was a whole scene of the country bands coming into Hollywood and getting to play the punk clubs.
Wow, very fascinating.
And that was at the time, I believe, that you had met Pete Anderson. That's when you and him actually met.
Right.
And
Pete and I had a little band together, and an amazing guitar player and producer. And he had just met Dwight Yoakam at the time. And in fact, we were all working as painters and whatever we could do. And I think Dwight was sleeping on Pete's couch, and Pete and I were painting houses. And then I think I guess it was '84. There was a compilation album called "A Town South of Bakersfield" that had a lot of the local acts on it, and I got a cut on that, and that was sort of the same thing. And then Dwight was on that one too, and then Dwight's career just took right off.
Well, let's hear another song. I'm going to get more into that because that's very fascinating. And I want to touch on to the before that though. Yep. I want to touch on just that scene out there. How things led to. Not only did you have punk, you had California country scene at the same time. Very. It's like two different. They're not twin brothers or twin sisters, but both rebellious type music maybe, but before that, this just in, the Last Chance Saloon right here, 8144 McMinnville Highway, just handed to me from the City Irish, one of the owners of this fine establishment, nominated for Manchester's finest restaurant, bar and grill, finest wings, and finest burger. Oh, yes, I can vouch for that.
The Western burger.
And we need votes, so everybody get on there and log on to manchestertimes.com. MANCHESTER Times, common spelling, manchestertimes.com, and click on Manchester's Finest, vote here. So I'll try to read that again before I forget here. And very quick, we're going to go over this here in a minute, what's going on here. So everybody hang in there. We got another song from Mr. Ray Doyle, and this fascinating story. My gosh, this is one of those shows we could go to 2 a.m.
Oh,
easily.
we definitely could. We're really easily.
Yeah.
And Pete Anderson really helped introduce Ray to some fascinating Hollywood stars as well. Ray was introducced to Leslie
Ann Warren.
Oh my gosh, I want to definitely hear more about this.
And Chevy Chase, Steve Martin. Well, I guess you were in those homes as well.
I was handyman to the stars was my day job.
Oh, I love it, man. I've been there.
Yeah.
Well, you are a lesson in networking, and I definitely want to go into a couple of different things. That you being at the working your butt off led to you being at the right place at the right time, which is what it takes, which is change your musical life. But how about another song first?
Okay, well, you had mentioned Yellowstone, so I'll do that song. We're going to go all the way from getting off the boat in New York to way out west, Wyoming. There's a great outfit called the Western Folklife Center in Elko, Nevada, who do the annual National Cowboy Gathering. I was there a couple of weeks ago for the 33rd annual. And they have every, Western artist, Ian Tyson was there, who is, he's a god there, actually, Alberta cowboy. But they're really into the real West, and I'm lucky to be associated with them at all, because I'm definitely not a cowboy. I like to tell people that everything I learned about horses, I learned from my dad. When I was a kid in Ireland, we went by a racetrack in the bus, and he said, "See that place there?" He says, "Don't ever go in there." so that was my...
So from that moment on, you wanted to go in there more than anything in the world, didn't you?
Oh, of course. But, and then we lived across from a greyhound track for a while too. But they're just like little thoroughbreds.
Yeah.
But, so he saved me a lot of money by giving me that. But anyway, I ended up out west and traveling with this band, Wiley and the Wild West, and for many years. But I remember the first time I went through Yellowstone. We were on our way up to to play at the Calgary Stampede, which is amazing. I think we played 10 days in a row at the beer garden at noon. And those Canadians they were drinking at noon and having a good old time. It was a pretty crazy trip. But on the way back, I went back through Yellowstone just because it was such an amazing place. It was like another planet to me. And so a couple of years after that, I was in Cody, Wyoming. We were playing at the Buffalo Bill Historical Center there, doing a cowboy gathering, and somebody handed me an application for a song contest that Western Folklife was putting on. They were looking for songs about Yellowstone and the Tetons for a CD project they were going to do. So I kind of went home and thought about how it impressed me, and so this is the song I came up with for the contest. So, and I was one of the winners. So it's probably the only song I've ever made any money off. So but it's called The Jewel, and if you ever get a chance, Yellowstone should be on everybody's bucket list. It really is an amazing place. It's it's the top of a super volcano. You see Old Faithful and you see all these hot pools, and I mean, you go online and look at the pictures, and it's otherworldly and amazing, and we got to see it before it blows, because it's going to take half the state with it when it does.
Oh man!
But anyway, so. All right, so here's what I got. There's a place upon this good green earth like nowhere else you've ever seen, where misty mountains soar above, majestic and serene. Clear and gentle waters flow past grazing elk and buffalo, like a picture from the past inside a dream. But sleeping restless deep below the summer sun, winter snow, there lies a secret waiting to be told. And with a shudder and a rumble wakes as pulses race and timber shakes, like they did as mighty ages roll. In the meeting of the water and the fire, there's a merging of a heaven and a hell, a land of wonder and surprise, where water flows up to the skies, a place of sulfur, smoke, and ash, where God must surely dwell. And if you believe in heaven high, then you should go before you die and see the jewel we call Yellowstone. I could paint a canvas right, like Remington or Russell might, you'd see my little picture, bright and true. But I just got words to close the deal, piece of wood and strings of steel, this postcard sent with love from me to you. In the meeting of the water and the fire, there's a merging of a heaven and a hell, a land of wonder and surprise, where water flows up to the skies, a place of sulfur, smoke, and ash, where God must surely dwell. And if you believe in heaven high, you should go before you die and see the jewel we call Yellowstone. And see this jewel we call Yellowstone.
Ray Doyle, Nashville Night. Oh my gosh, that's songwriting 101. The merging, and I had to look it up because I thought, does he mean what I think he means? The merging of the water and fire, and the fire, and merging of heaven into hell. You know, it's just so descriptive, the lyrics, and that the writing process on this. Did it flow fairly easy? Was there things you had to you could not fit in there that you wanted to, or did
this one did. I'm not a prolific writer. I usually, it's like having a kid with me. About every 9 months, I just have to write one.
I love it.
But this one, I was one of the first times I ever sat down and I had an idea. I knew what I was going to have to write about. It was like, okay, here's a song contest, and they want a song about Yellowstone. So I really thought about, visualized what I liked about Yellowstone and my experiences there, and tried to put that in a poetry context. It's so.
Well, you did, and you were talking about one of the verses. If I could paint a picture, you painted a great picture in that one.
Well, definitely. After the contest and they put out the CD, I had a couple of great experiences. One was somebody had sent the song to a woman who writes a guidebook for Yellowstone, and she was raised there, and her father was a scientist. So, and I think her husband is a biologist. So she's written the definitive guidebook for Yellowstone, and she wanted to quote my song in the back of the book. So that was a big thrill for me.
Oh my gosh!
For that, and.
Wow. What a huge honor! Yeah.
Hopefully, it's still available there.
It's always the greats that are really humble, and you're not a prolific writer, but 2008 the WMA, that's Western Music Association, right?
Yes.
Cowboy Song of the Year with Wild in the Wild West. 2007 Gold Award winner, Western Folklife Center Yellowstone Song Contest, where we just talked about. 2006 WMA Swing Album of the Year with Wild in the Wild West Alive at the Tractor, and a 2005 AWA Will Rogers Award for the Western Group of the Year with Wild in the Wild West. So,
and I haven't updated that yet, but in 2011, the Western Music Association gave me this guitar and a nice trophy as Instrumentalist of the Year for them. Even though I'm not a lead picker, but
oh my gosh,
very nice gift.
That guitar, and I hope it sounds as good on air as it sounds here. When you were warming up, it was like, my gosh, that's beautiful.
Well,
fantastic.
Before the battery runs out, anyway.
Oh my gosh! Hey, I hope it holds up through here. If not, I got a fresh new battery I'll take out of my guitar for you. Mr. Andy Pardon, awesome Andy has got a question.
Awesome, Andy. Yes. Awesome, Andy.
The CD itself, the compilation of all the songs, that was huge for you. Me and you had spoke in the past about how you had the opportunity to have a CD put together of your own. And I think it's very unique, and it's something that all the songwriters in Nashville need to hear, because it's inspiring. Because it's an example of when you're working on your art, that it doesn't matter where you are. Eventually, if you stay centered, you're going to be found. And it may be in the most unique places, and it may not even be in the same country that you've been working in.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it's the luck of the Irish, but I've been very fortunate. But in I think it was 2006, I was the Western Folklife Center in Elko, the band I was traveling with, Wiley and the Wild West. We were regulars on their yearly festival that they have there. So we've done it about 12 years in a row. And each year they have a guest from some other country in the world that is a horse culture. So one year they had throat singers from the steppes of Asia who also had were horsemen and stuff, and they've had Irish artists, they've had French artists, and this one year they had gauchos, and it was pretty amazing. A lot of accordion playing down in Argentina, but they ended up doing a a reciprocal thing with the gaucho culture, and so they put together a trip to South America, and they asked the band I was in, Wiley's band, to go down there, and along with a couple of other artists, and do again a week in Brazil, a week in Argentina, or actually a shorter few days in Brazil, and then to Argentina, where we started in Buenos Aires and did some TV shows and stuff, and then we went out to Patagonia in the west side, right on the Chilean border. Yeah. We were there for a week in this beautiful little town, and half of the group, there was about 20 people there, had paid to go on this wonderful trip, and they were mostly horse people, so there was an opportunity for them to go on a 5-day horseback ride into the mountains of Patagonia.
And those are some of the most beautiful mountains in the world, if I'm thinking of the right place.
Absolutely. Watch out for the ozone hole, though. I've heard about blind rabbits.
You never believe. Yeah.
Right. But I got to do some whitewater rafting. I'd never done that. It was just a astounding trip. We went to some little bar somewhere, and there were pictures of Paul Newman's, what was his, Butch and Sundance.
Oh, yeah.
When they went down there, I guess, they stopped in this bar, so there were pictures. But amazing place. And so half of the group, I said, you're not getting my skinny white Irish behind on a horse for 5 days. You'll kill me. Yeah. So I opted to stay in the little town with half of the people that didn't want to go on the horseback ride. So every night we'd go out to a wonderful meal and drink a bunch of. We were in Mendoza, which is where all the wine growers are, and the handmade chocolate. It was just an amazing place to go. Wow. So we'd come back every night after that, and I'd play a few songs. And there was a couple along on the trip who really got to like my material, and then said, well, why don't you have a CD? Because I was, by that time I think Wiley had 12 CDs or something with Wiley. So I said, well, I don't have a budget. And they said, well, when we go to Elko for the Cowboy Gathering in January, let's get together and we'll talk about it. And so they backed me to make the Emigrant Trail record. Interesting that how you run across people who, for the journey. You played out in going back, I know I'm hopping around here, but in the LA cowpunk scene for a long time, right. And coming up into the 80s, and I kind of lost my place here because you were in 87, 88. That's when you met up. Is that when it was in 91 when you met up with Wiley and them? But gosh, it was something in 87, 88. And 87, 88, I was down in Texas. Yes, at the Kerrville Folk Festival. The Kerrville Folk, probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, songwriting festival, the Kerrville Festival. That led to some other opportunities too, didn't it? Oh, yeah. Well, that was amazing. Actually, I have friends in California at a place called McCabe's Guitar Shop. Thank you, McCabe's, for all the help over the years. But it's a wonderful folk club, one of the best folk clubs on the West Coast. And a songwriter friend of mine, Joyce Woodson, who lived in Nashville for a while, she told me about the Kerrville Folk Festival, and she would go every year and camp out, and it just sounded like too good a time. And then she said, well, they have a song contest, send them just, whatever, voice guitar on a cassette. Remember cassettes? Yeah, yes. Yes, I do very well. So in 87, I was really trying to get active with my songwriting, so I submitted, and they invited me. So, I got my first trip to Texas and to the hill country, and here I am, at Kerrville in a tent, and it was an amazing experience, and I got to play on the main stage and do my little thing, and then they invited me back the following year too. So that's about when I started going to Austin, and actually came to Nashville for the first time in '87, and lined up outside the Bluebird for the audition, and got a spot, and But yeah, it's about being in some place at some time and just having going down the road. Good luck. And could you have looked back or looked forward and say, hey, if I go to this and go this, and then this is going to happen. But as on your musical journey, can you look back now and say, hey, if I wouldn't have went to this or done this, then this wouldn't have happened, and that wouldn't have happened, and then which led to the meaning. A lot of different other things. Randy, but that can drive you crazy if you try. You can't you can't manipulate it, but you can hope for the best. But I went to South by Southwest in Austin was a great music festival to go to. So I started just go to the festivals, go hear the music that you like. and be around those people and see how it's done, you know, and, and see what doors open up, you know, and
Definitely.
and smile a lot.
Hold on one second. Producer Brian, Judy Sarton out of Tahlequah, Oklahoma, says that we lost sound tonight. Lost sound. She just sent me this about a minute ago. I don't know if we're not coming through or what. Judy, if you can hear this, let me know if you're coming through again. I know the archive or the recordings are happening, but Brian, they're saying that they can't hear through the Facebook thing. But while we're doing this, before we get to so we can give Brian a chance to check that out, we got some check-ins tonight. And, of course, Miss Judy from Tahlequah, Oklahoma. And we've got a lot of other check-ins, too. Andrea Dawn. Andrea's up in Ohio, I think. So, hello, Andrea. Carolyn Statham down on Montego Mountain. Met her the other night. Kat Taylor in Alabama. Hey, how you doing? David Roder, we love you, man. Mike Anderson, my buddy from school. I got to see in here not long ago. Vonda Burris in Ohio. Jeff Rowe Jenkins, love you, brother. Josh Morton out there in McMinnville. You know Josh?
Yes.
Josh says, what's up? And Miss Shirley Oatsfall. Shirley, where are you from? I don't even. Okay, you're in Nashville. So thank y'all for listening. And where were we at? Andy had a question. I can just feel it, or I can see him shaking his hand at me. What do you got?
Well, there's one particular club out west that was notorious for a lot of really good artists congregating and playing back then, and that was a Palomino club, and that was actually where Ray had ran into Wiley, and he was introduced by Pete Anderson to Wiley. I believe it was sort of like that, Ray, or was it another way?
Yeah, I think that probably another one. I'm getting my story mixed up here, but okay. I was introduced to Will Ray at the time, who was a great guitar player, and I think who lives out Asheville way now. And he was in a band. He's in a band called the Helicasters. He's quite an astounding guitar player. But he was producing Wiley at the time when I first met him, and so that he was the one who, when Wiley needed a rhythm guitar player, suggested that I audition, and so then we ended up, years later. but the Palomino was an amazing place. I mean, I remember when I went in there one day. I think I was delivering stationery supplies for somebody, and I thought, oh, there's the Pal. I got to go in. I've been hearing about this place for years, I went in.
Yes, everybody, we've heard of that.
And Bill, it wasn't Bill Anderson. I saw. Who? I'm drawing a blank right now, but it was a Golden Stone hit country guy, sitting there. He was the only one in the place sitting at a little table with a couple of empty glasses in front of himself, and this was like noon or something. And I thought, I've arrived. This is country music heaven here. But everybody from Joe Ely, a great Texas writer and player, I saw him there. They had a talent night every week that everybody would get on and try to play for $50 or something was the prize. But I played there with several bands, and every Tuesday night they'd have Ronnie Mac's Barn Dance, and Ronnie's still out there. He's really helped the scene. He was really instrumental in getting it all together in those days, because all the musicians who were country musicians would end up at the Palomino on Tuesday nights to network, and it was kind of like the clubhouse.
Yeah, what was the scene like then? Was it a pretty small, very close-knit scene, because it was kind of surrounded by different types of music, and kind of a niche thing that was a unique thing? If you were a member of the country scene, was it kind of not as numerous as Nashville, but and maybe more close-knit because of that?
Yeah, it was definitely like a focused scene, but I don't know, 15, 20 bands maybe, give or take, another half a dozen or so that, But it was a lot of working guys. They always had great musicians in the house band. Jeffrey Steele, who's in Nashville.
Yeah, with Boy Howdy and
Boy Howdy.
Yes,
they were, and he was the bass player a lot of times in the house band. And Red Volkert, who was on the road with Merle Haggard for a long time. Red did a stint there as the lead guitar player in the house band. So it was.
And Ray, you actually were in the studio with Merle Haggard. on one of the songs that
I sure was.
Oh, wow.
We did Wiley's second album in '94. We recorded at Merle's place. In 93, every December, Vegas has the National Finals Rodeo. And it's, you'll see more expensive boots and hats than you've ever seen anywhere in Vegas during that time. And we were asked to open for Merle for 10 days in a row at the Sahara.
My goodness.
I don't know, somebody's probably buried in the desert because of that. But because of that, we met Merle and recorded Wiley's second album up there. And, and we got to hang out with Merle in the studio.
That was my next question. You get to hang out and talk to the guy pretty normal?
Oh, yeah.
A great guy to talk to?
Oh, yeah. We did illegal things and, it was
no. So it wasn't just Willie.
I didn't inhale.
No. Why not? Don't. If you're going to go that far, you need to inhale,
Yeah, right.
And if it touches your lips, hey, you've already went that far.
Yeah.
We got Mr. Ray Doyle here tonight. If anybody wants to call in, area code 845-584-1067. What a fantastic show this has been. We're not anywhere near being done. But, hey, Cynthia Irish gave me the schedule. We know what's going to come up here. Last Chance Saloon. Both of those, the owners here, Cynthia and Mark Irish, musicians, singers, musicians, and they love music, and they've made this place a fun place literally 7 nights a week. 7 nights a week. Tuesday, we had the group right from 4 to 7, and then from 7 to 8:30-ish, the Midnight Madness show, from 8:30 to 10-ish, the Nashville Night Show. 2 radio shows, group right, great place to come hang out and get to hear and meet guys like Ray Doyle here. But Wednesday night, the Dart League is back, or never went away. It's back. But free pool Wednesdays. It starts tomorrow. Oh, my. Hot off the press. This is a new piece of paper. This is hot off the press. Starts tomorrow. No free pool on Tuesday. Starting tomorrow. Starting for next week. This is it. The first Wednesday. We're going into March here. You don't have. Okay, I don't have to say, but I did. Okay, Thursday the jam night, 8 to 12. They have a jam night here. Everybody gets to plays every kind of instruments. Did I just hear this? Was there a saxophone player that got up here? Okay, a saxophone player that came, And Andy and I are going to bring our kazoos one night and get up here. No, y'all have a lot of fun with that. I've seen the pictures and the video. The jam night, bring your instruments, your voices, and play any kind of songs, right? It's a very fun time. Free draft beer from 7 to 9. Jam nights 8 to 12. Free draft beer. Free draft beer, 7 to 9. Wow. Friday, karaoke, from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. Ray, do you have a favorite karaoke song?
No, I don't.
We need to find one.
Someone told me that karaoke was Japanese for sings out of tune.
Yeah. Gosh, that must be it then. So those people I thought were doing it wrong were actually doing it right. Actually, I was doing it right.
And that's why I sound so good
You
when I sing.
are so beautiful to me. Oh, yes.
You got to hit the high note, though, like Homer Simpson.
Yes. I speak of the pompatus of love. Okay.
Dart night here must be something. They really got some nice dart lanes set up here.
Dart.
But, there's something about darts, whoever came up with the idea of having people drink a bunch and then throw sharp things.
Oh, wow. It's not a good combination, is it? Well, it is. I guess it's safe. You can't really kill anybody. You might be able to, you can't go past that line. So if they're really, really drunk, they're not going to be able to get it to them. Let's throw it down, might hit them in the ankle or something, a few ankle injuries. But it's pretty safe. Really fun. Really fun. Gosh, what I've learned, Ray and Andy, so many different games of darts. There's so many different games you can play. And it goes over big here. Very much so. Everybody should come out and enjoy this thing.
Just as long as they don't go outside and play yard darts.
Yeah, oh my gosh, no. Or shooting range or something like that. But yeah, definitely do that. Saturday, live band, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. Gosh. 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. Bad Neighbor, those guys are back. We love they're a big hit here. What's that? He wears a kilt. He's Scottish.
Oh my God!
Wow. Yeah. Sunday, Biker Day. Oh yes. Ride your motorcycle here and get a 2-for-1 special all day long, right? All day. And then 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. blind draw darts. Blind draw. Tell me that really quickly. What is that? That's where you pick the teams. you don't know who your partner's going to be. So
I thought it was the darts where you wear the blindfold. That's
that
really
would be
dangerous.
fun.
Yeah.
You drink a lot and you wear the blindfold. They pick you. You get paired with a partner. So that's 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then 8 p.m. Oh, I love this idea. The Walking Dead on the big screen TV here. And in between, during the commercial breaks, you get trivia questions and prizes and free popcorn. What other food deals for this night?
Free brain snacks.
There you go. Brain food. That's it. Exactly. Or did you say brand?
Brain.
But The Walking Dead, I love that idea. But they do. They put a big screen right there, and they watch The Walking Dead. Big show. It's going over well. So, yeah, do the trivia.
The Dancing Dead is pretty good, too.
Oh, the Dancing Dead. Oh, my gosh, yeah. That's what I look like when I dance, Monday, bingo. Bingo's another fun one. People get angry over bingo. My gosh. But not here, they don't. But bingo's very fun. Then Tuesday, we're back to more shows here. But come on out. Last Chance Saloon. Look them up on Facebook, Last Chance Saloon. There's a couple of them. But the other one we don't care about. The one that we care about is in Morrison, Tennessee. 8144 Middle Highway in Morrison, Tennessee. Look them up. You can see what's going on here. And Cynthia, you'll put some specials up there quite often. But, wow. Thank you all for doing everything you do. Producer Brian for putting on WFMCJams.com and Chris Cataldo up there in New York City for Heat FM Radio and the Nashville Songwriters Radio Network. Because we got this guy, Mr. Ray Doyle. Gosh, I know we were going to touch on it. You were talking about meeting Leslie Ann Warren. Was that a one night thing, or did you a relationship? I don't mean it like that. I don't mean it like that. Did y'all just meet for that one?
Yeah.
Why do y'all got to go to the bad place? I did not mean that at all.
Well, the other day I was talking to Sir Paul McCartney, and he said, "Ray, don't drop names." That's a bad joke. But no.
Who's that? No.
Yeah, right. Leslie Ann was the first bona fide star that I worked for, and it was thanks to Pete Anderson. Actually, we both had. I bought white painter's pants just for that gig, and while I was working there, the interior designer and I were chatting, and she asked me what else I could do, and I said, well, pretty much whatever you need, electrical, carpentry, finish carpentry. And I'd worked for a general contractor for a while, so I had some skills and willing to buy tools. So that kind of started me on a little side job in Hollywood, which turned out very well. I worked for several different interior designers, and over the years, worked for quite a few celebrities.
Wow. You were in Hollywood, so I'm trying to get the timeline right. Would it be the mid-'70s to the late '80s, or to the '90s?
Well, we moved there. I was there through the '60s.
That's right. You did say '64.
'60s, '70s, '80s. Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, I just moved from California a year and a half ago, so 50-something years ago.
Wow. Okay, the kid that came there in the '60s that had lived in these sparsely populated areas, both of Dublin, Ireland, and then was it Quebec or Ontario? That moved to this populous area, once again, ground zero for entertainment and music. What do you think you would have been like without the LA experience? What did that add to you musically and who you are today?
I think it kind of showed me that the wide range of possibilities in music. Because I was I was moved by it and interested in it, and I loved the Beatles and the English Invasion, the British Invasion bands, because I related to them. We had been in Liverpool when we were immigrating and stuff. So when the Beatles happened, that was it. Oh, wow. And I saw them play at Dodger Stadium. Actually, I got to see the Beatles once. Yeah.
Oh gosh, is Mark here? We got Cynthia's Mark here. He's a huge Beatles fan. Well, he doesn't have to come out if he's busy. I just wanted to. Mark is a Beatles fanatic. There's a few millions of them, but
I probably still have my ticket stub somewhere.
That is amazing. The Beatles at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
Gosh.
That was the second last concert. I think the next night they went and played Candlestick Park in San Francisco, and then that was it for America. I seeing all of this, it was like, okay, it can be an electric band, and then when Crosby, Stills, and Nash were happening, and Joni Mitchell, the whole Laurel Canyon scene. I was working in Hollywood at the record store at that point.
Yes.
And so that was a whole other thing. They say, hey, you can do it with an acoustic guitar. There was a country influence, and it was accessible to me. The rock and roll stuff, I couldn't play that fast stuff.
Oh, man. That had to be a dream time to be out in that area.
It was. was.
Okay, Mark Irish, one of the owners of the Great Last Chance Saloon, is here. Drummer, Beatles fanatic. You had to be included in this because Ray's casually talking about seeing the Beatles at Dodger Stadium. Okay, he's giving him a handshake and a bow. Yeah, I mean, what a show that. Now, what year was that again?
Oh, it was 66, I think. It was the last. When was the Candlestick Park? Their last show in America was 66, I think.
66, yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so it would have been right before the night before that in Dodger Stadium.
No kidding. Oh, man. I'm the world's biggest Beatle fanatic. Other than
I am.
the Beatles themselves, I am. I love the Beatles. I just look at, in music history, even if you don't like the Beatles, which means you're probably like 1% of 1%.
Right.
You should be banished from the planet.
You should be scum of the earth and be banished from the planet. That's when the government comes and puts you to sleep. But you gotta, even if you don't like the Beatles, you gotta look at what they did for music, how they changed songwriting, music, recording, album covers, equipment sales. I mean, it changed religion in countries. They changed politics in country. What band did that? Ever done that?
They were fairly influential, I'd say.
Yeah, a little bit. And I look at when people go, no, they were terrible. And I say, okay, let's look at it this way. The Beatles broke up. 4 of them, they go their own separate ways. After their separate ways, and I'm going to ask you guys if you know this, and you might know this because I think I told you. After they broke up, how many hits combined did the Beatles have on the radio that made it in the top 10 or higher between the 4 of them? How many songs made it on the radio, top 10 or higher, after the Beatles broke up?
I can't remember. Would it be 100?
63. 63 songs.
Wow.
Of course, Paul was a third of them.
Right.
Almost to 1990 with George Harrison.
Well, and this stretch all the way. Paul had a song out 4 years ago that made it in the top 10. So that's even included. Now, it wasn't. I didn't think it was a very good song. Sorry, Paul. And Paul's probably going, I was going to come down to the Last Chance Saloon until Mark made that comment. Yeah. Paul going to please call me Paul and cuss me out. I'd love that. We get that
He
on air,
wants to be
Brian?
cussed
Paul
out.
McCartney
You got
cussed me
a Beatles scar?
Yeah. So I got a chance to meet Ringo many years ago during his first All-Stars. He had Joe Walsh and Todd Rundgren and Zach Starkey on drums.
Wow.
The keyboard player from the Guess Who. Burton Cummings was with him, so I got to see that. Got to see Paul 4 years ago, so I saw half the Beatles. I didn't get to see all the Beatles like yourself. But now Mrs. Z has seen the Beatles, 2 or 3 times, if I remember right. Mark Norris's mom used to go see the Beatles on a regular basis.
Jeez.
I'm like, how in the world, man? I just would love to have gotten to see that.
Set list. You remember the song they closed out with?
The set list, what was there?
Some hits they left out because they got so many hits.
Oh, yeah.
Could not possibly take
Yeah.
Well, Paul McCartney.
McCartney's bass, his 63 Hofner Beatle bass, still has a set list on it, I think, from the last concert that they did.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I think David Letterman said it best when they did the 50 years to the day and it was on TV. And David Letterman
the Ed
goes,
Sullivan
Yes.
of the Ed Sullivan Show.
Yep.
Yeah,
And he goes, what were the songs you did? And Paul ran right down the line. We did this. He goes, all of them were hits. Every single one of them was a hit.
Yeah.
That's a career for most bands. That's your first night.
Yeah.
Right there alone tells you. Right now. So we could sit all day on useless facts about the Beatles. Paul McCartney and Lennon, 581 songs published between just the two of them.
Yeah.
581 published. How many they sold to people like the Stones and of course, the Apple band, Badfinger. Oh, man. We could go for hours on this stuff.
Ray, did you bump into any of them in your musical travels out there?
Nope, never did. No, I never had a close call with Dylan either. I wish I had. So
He looks like he would with Neil Young for some reason.
Neil Young, I used to go see all the time. And, I saw him debut the Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere album.
Wow.
At the Troubadour, and that was when he had Crazy Horse, the original Crazy Horse back then.
Yeah.
So I went 2 nights in a row because I was working at the record shop at the time and could get free tickets. And I knew Cinnamon Girl before the record came out from watching them. So that was a cool era.
Yep. Oh, so he saw all the major bands, all the major artists.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. What's an obscure major band? I mean, to me, obscure is like.
Well, usually
Emerson, Lake
obscure
and Palmer
and major don't go together.
I know.
But I was just talking to a friend the other day who was talking about David Lindley, who's Jackson Brown's accompanist for years, and he was in a seminal band called the Kaleidoscope that not too many people know about, and that was in the 60s. And in this, like 66, 67, those 2 summers, Griffith Park, which is an enormous park in Los Angeles where the observatory is and everything, but that and another park every Sunday would have a love-in, which was like they'd bring out sound equipment, and it was basically a party for the hippies, whoever they were, and all the San Francisco bands would come down, and I saw the band the Kaleidoscope with and I think they were on with the Jefferson Airplane.
Oh, wow.
And so I saw all the San Francisco bands through that time, Quicksilver Messenger Service and that whole thing. I went to San Francisco, too, in my Volkswagen bus to check the scene out up there.
Isn't that cool?
I went to the Monterey Pop Festival.
Oh, my.
Right out of high school. So I graduated in 67, so the timing was perfect.
Yeah.
Just up the coast to Monterey.
And that just wild.
But the coolest thing was getting the tickets to the clubs in Hollywood where I got to see stuff up close.
Right.
I saw Bruce Springsteen do Born to Run.
Oh, really?
At the Roxy Theater on Hollywood Boulevard.
Wow.
So. But those days were great. The Troubadour was kind of where the Eagles got together and that whole folk rock thing was going. And I would be there, every couple of weeks, and they'd put me, because I was on, from the record store, and I had the owner's name was on the thing. I'd go and give his name, and so I'd be on the VIP list. And I remember one night I was sitting between Peter Lawford and Neil Diamond.
Wow.
And Janis Joplin.
Wow, you sat next to Janis Joplin?
Yes, sitting in this little corner.
How was she like in that little circle?
I didn't get
just
to talk
normal...
to her, but she was gorgeous and flamboyant and
I heard she was just down to earth.
That's all those people. Peter Lawford, the Kennedy clan. And
he didn't have enough money, so he married the Kennedys.
Yeah. But everybody after a few drinks, they're pretty down to earth. Everybody was having a good time.
What a cool era to hang out. Great music, Jefferson Airplane. You got Cream, and then
I saw Cream. I saw the Farewell Cream concert.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I think it was the LA Forum, it was either that or the Sports Arena, the Forum, I think.
How about Buffalo Springfield?
I saw Springfield a couple times. Yeah.
Was it with Neil still? Neil was with him.
Yeah, the original
band.
Lineup,
Was it?
Bruce Palmer on bass, Dewey Martin on drums.
Yeah.
Stephen Stills was my hero for a while.
Man, that's awesome. That's good stuff. I love to see. We could sit and talk about this all night. Hey, we'd love to hear about your career, but let's talk about
I figured you would like that.
We could get sidetracked real easily, but
I saw the Beatles at
yeah, it's like wow. That's why I had to go shake his hand. Like
they didn't see me, but actually, myself and a couple of friends, we had heard a rumor about where they were staying in the Hollywood Hills, and we went after the concert. We went up there, and there were crowds, around this house on a hill, and people were climbing up the hillside, through the bushes, and they were turning the sprinklers on to get them away. And so we got as close as we could, and we saw a little MGB GT, a little green one, come out of there, and somebody said that was Roger McGuinn's car, and that he was taking a couple of the Beatles down to the Strip for something. But It was a golden age. It was a good time to be alive.
Good. That's when all the best music was. That 50s, 60s, and 70s. That's when good songs. And you don't have to take my word for it. Go to any jukebox. Go to any bar and listen to a band play.
It was the golden age of rock and roll. But like you said about the Beatles, I remember people waiting up with their transistor radios at night because the new Beatles album or new Beatles single would be played, and everybody's just anticipating, and each time it was distinct and it was different, and oh my God,
every song was
they
different.
did it again, and you'd be humming it right away. Well, McCartney has a gift for melody like nobody in the world,
Right.
So it's but Lennon and McCartney together was unbeatable as far as I'm concerned. The greatest songwriting combination.
Kind of getting not sidetracked, but it's still a McCartney-Lennon reference. I saw an interview with Paul McCartney talked about the first time they met Elvis Presley. Him and John went to Graceland at 2 a.m, and Elvis come down the staircase with Priscilla. So when I went to Graceland with my wife, I don't know, last June, I'm standing in the foyer there, entryway, taking pictures of the entryway. Everyone else is taking pictures of Elvis's pictures on the wall and the furniture. And I'm taking pictures of like the entryway, and they're like going, "What's the matter? You never saw an entryway before?" I go, "This is where Paul McCartney, John Lennon stood right there and met Elvis Presley, the three biggest names in rock and roll history, right here." And John and Paul were starstruck and stared at Elvis. And that's when Elvis said, and Paul in the interview said, Elvis looked at us and said, "If all you're going to do is stare at me, I'm going back to bed. It's 2 o'clock in the morning."
Wow.
He kind of broke it. And then they go down into the TV room where Elvis had the 3 TVs because Elvis heard Walter Cronkite listen to all 3 major radio or TV stations to get the news, kind of variation of news. So Elvis had 3 TVs in there. And he goes, "We went downstairs to the TV room. TVs were on. We sat down." And Elvis said, "Hang on a second." He reached back and he pulled out a remote control and turned off the TVs. He said, "We never saw that before." He goes, "This cat's got remote." Wow.
That's technology.
He's
there.
a superstar. This cat's made it. He's got a remote. Yeah. Now we all got remotes for a car stereo that's 2 inches away from our hand, and it's just
I was
crazy.
the remote at my parents' house.
Hey, go over and turn it on channel 3. Well, there were only 3
I had to
channels.
walk 12 feet through shag carpeting to turn the channel. Yeah.
Green and yellow shag. Yeah, I hear you. Well, I'll let you get back to the meat and potatoes of the show, but thank you so very much for sharing that with me.
Great for chatting, man.
Again, we could sit here and do a whole show just on that. I love it.
We call it the sidetrack. We like it. Yeah, it works.
You guys are down for the night.
Oh gosh, yes. Mark Irish here, ladies and gentlemen, honor of the Last Chance Saloon. The DJ Doctor has hosted many of the shows. Andy, we're going to get back into some more things. But Ray, how about another song? And then I'd like to talk about, if you guys don't mind, you've played the Opry, you've played the Lincoln, the Kennedy Center. Gosh, yeah. L.A. was just the tip of the iceberg on this journey. And like I said, probably one of the most interesting musical journeys I've ever seen of anybody. But how about hitting us with another?
I'm a rumor in my own time.
Hey, really quickly, before I love that. I've never heard that. That took a while to hit me. You have very descriptive lyrics. You're big on the Western music. Was there any of the rock acts or the folk acts that you've seen back then that you wanted, at least initially, to pattern yourself after before you became your own unique songwriter?
Well, songwriters' influence, of course, I love the Beatles and the Beatles, Birds, and the Buffalo Springfield, the 3 Bs.
The 3 Bs,
they were my focus. But Gordon Lightfoot was huge for me. I had all of his vinyl LPs, and I think I still have them in a box somewhere. I've got to dig them out. I just bought a turntable recently, so I'm going back through my vinyl. But Lightfoot really got to me. I just loved his stuff and still do.
Very descriptive lyrics you have. So I knew there had to be some kind of legendary influence behind that, because you just don't see that every day. That is part of classic music. And they're not classic in the sense of of when it was written, but how it was written. I love the color you paint on each of your songs.
Well, thank you very much.
A perfect segue into a song. What do you say, Andy?
Perfect.
All right. Well, I'll do Bodie. This is one I haven't recorded yet, actually, and this is it's about a ghost town in Northern California called Bodie, California, and it's an amazing place. It was the site of one of the last go-rounds for the gold rush. And 1859 is when Bodie discovered gold up there, and a town, exploded, and they were, I guess, San Francisco wasn't that far away. You know, it was about the width of California. They were both on each side, but they had stagecoaches coming in every day from San Francisco. And anything you could get in San Francisco, you could get in Bodie. It was a wild town, and it had a reputation, you know, daily killings, and a ton of Irish people worked there. And I went up there a couple times to check it out, and, you know, got in the graveyard and looked at the tombstones, Celtic crosses and the Irish names and everything. And so I got a lot of, you know, inspiration from that. And I was reading everything I could get about it, and read, I guess it was a young girl at the time had written a letter because her parents said they were going to Bodie, and she said, "Goodbye, God, I'm going to Bodie." And so when I saw that, I thought,
wow.
okay, that sounded like a song title to me. So so this is it. But quite an amazing place, and I'm writing a series of songs around this. It's going to be sort of my California Gold Rush. That might be the next record, you know. So let's see here. July of 1859, 5 men searching for a sign. Taylor, Doyle, and Garrity, Brodigan and Bodie. Near where Bodie staked his claim, there grew a town to bear his name. From all around the world they came to seek an easy fortune. They blasted tunnels and built the mills among the barren granite hills. In blazing sun and frozen ground, there's not much else where gold is found. Oh, goodbye, God, I'm going to Bodie. Goodbye, God, I'm going to Bodie. With wild and bloody wide renown, soon was known as Shooter's Town. Every day a man went down to Bowie knife or pistol, the stuff of legend and of lore. High-grade, high Sierra ore, the chase of Bain to Hades' door, and back by way of China. They curse and worship Yellow Rock, they work and revel round the clock, and no one gets much sleep at night near drunken men and dynamite. Oh, goodbye, God, I'm going to Bodie. Join the ranks and join the row. Goodbye, God, I'm going to Bodie. Devil's got his hands full now. Pass the glass, we'll pass the while. We've ways to make a dead man smile. Saloons and card rooms, all the style. A 65 and counting. Girls and games for every whim. The preacher's worn and wearing thin. A tempest in a sea of sin, lashed by lust and passion. There'll come a time the boom will bust. The men will scatter, tools will rust, but gold will draw them once again, like vultures to a slaughter pen. Oh, goodbye, God, I'm going to Bodie. Join the ranks and join the row. Goodbye, God, I'm going to Bodie. Devil's got his hands full now. Goodbye, God, I'm going to Bodie. Join the rush and join the row. Goodbye, God, I'm going to Bodie. Devil's got his hands full now. California, here I come. Oh
Oh my gosh, that is a masterpiece. Ray Doyle, Nashville Night. I love that. I love that. So that is going to be another concept album coming up.
Yeah, I think so.
To write a concept album, do you know beforehand? Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I don't know why the world went off. The direction that the story's going to take. Do you know where beginning and end, and how to get there, or does that happen as you're writing the concept record?
At this point, it's more like I'm writing songs that I think would be appropriate to the feeling, the feeling I get when I'm thinking about Bodie, reading about Bodie. So I've got some songs about characters in the town itself.
Are these real characters that you've researched and found out about?
Yeah. And the most famous prostitute in Bodie was named Rosa May, and so I'm working on one about her. She was very well known. I guess I'd worked in some other towns in the Comstock Gold Rush era, but when she got to Bodie, there was an instance of some sort of an outbreak. I don't know what the epidemic was, but she sort of became the Florence Nightingale of the area. Wrote letters home for dying miners and stuff, and took care of people. And then when she passed away, the upright women of the town wouldn't let her be buried inside the walls of the graveyard because of what she had done for a living. And so her grave was outside the gates, and it's still there. And while I was there, I went up and I here's her grave and people leaving plastic flowers on it and stuff. And
amazing.
So that's one of the characters, and then I've got a couple of other Western Gold Rush era songs that ideas that I've got. So it won't really be the story of Bodie itself, but kind of like California Gold Rush era, get that vibe.
And there's no shortage of stories, just like the one you just told. There's not really subplots. They're the plots that make up the entire story, like the prostitute who became the nurse, who was an angel on earth, but was kind of cast outside the gate, literally and figuratively, when she was the angel. It's something how in tragedy beauty can come out of it in so many different ways. The devil's got his hands full now. What about that lyric, Andy Parton? Come on. I love that. My gosh.
One thing that Ray does is he'll actually go to certain towns and visit those places, and that's where he'll draw that story. Ray, there was one town you actually went to, I think you had mentioned to me, and walked around, and that's where you based the song also going to Bodie off of? That was one in
Well, that was when I went up to Bodie. I went there a couple of times, and in fact, that's how I realized that one of the guys that was with Bodie when he found the gold up there was named Doyle. And so I thought, well, man, what's the chances, So it's one of the most popular names in Ireland, but, it was another reason that I felt like I had to finish the darn song.
I was going to say, sign from above that this is a project worth putting Ray Doyle's time into. Hey, Amy Perry Parton says hello from McMinnville. Are you two related?
Yes, it's my beautiful wife.
All right. Well, my beautiful wife, Jamie Fincham, was listening too. So we got both our beautiful wives listening. So, hello, Miss Parton. Love your husband now. He's a great guy. But, it was something else I was going to get into. Okay, yes, once again, I know we're hopping around here. I got another sub-question on what we're just talking about. Your writing process, is there one way that you do it? Because it's so intricate, it's so visually, in-depth. Unlike,
well, thank you.
I've rarely
Appreciate
seen
it.
before in all of this songwriting thing. And is there any kind of usual time frame you have on a song? Is there any kind of average out? This is how long it takes Ray Doyle to write a song. This is a process, or is it a little bit of everything? Some come along in an hour, some take a year.
Oh, I wish I could do it like the Nashville guys do. Have a 2:00 and then a 4:00 and be able to just crank it out. But it's never worked for me that way. Like I said, it's like having a baby. I'm lucky to get one that I like. I'll start a song, and if I don't think it's going to last, I want a song I can play in a couple of years and still like it. So a lot of times, if I feel strong enough about the idea, I'll just force myself to sit down, get to the page every day, and plow through it and rewrite and try to get it done.
is it story that comes along first and then the title, or title that comes along and then you got to match the story?
It can be either way. It can be like the Jewel. I got that lick first, the little, ascending, that one.
Yes.
Actually, I wrote that the morning of 9/11.
Wow.
I was stranded in Spokane, Washington, between gigs, and the airports were all closed and everything. Well, I was up there staying at a friend's house. He and his girlfriend had gone off to get married, which I didn't know. But he said, well, you stay if you're up in Spokane, stay in my house. So I thought, great, I'm going to go up, I'm going to write, work on some songs. And I woke up that morning and made a cup of coffee and thought, okay, and I've got this little progression I started working on, and then I turned the television on, and everybody remembers that.
Oh, yes,
so that kind of derailed me, but that's I try to get away and focus on something. If I've got notebooks and notebooks and notebooks, I've got hundreds of cassettes with little ideas on it that I don't even know where they are right now. but generally, if I'm have a project like for the Immigrant Trail record, I was focused on that, and the songs I chose for that album, it was sort of it's a loose concept album, but I included a Gordon Lightfoot song on there, and I included Tennessee Stud. And I changed it to a minor key. Instead, everybody knows the Doc Watson version of Tennessee Stud, so I thought, well, let's see if I can Irish it up a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So I did, and so those for that album, it was all the Irish thing, and I had a very fine group of musicians from Canada called Cowboy Celtic.
Yes.
And they're friends of mine from up there, and a terrific band, and they play their stuff and traditional stuff, and they have a harpist who's incredible. She's a concert, plays with orchestras, and so they're very, very, well-heeled musically. And so I flew up to their place on Thanksgiving, I remember, of that year, and I brought the tapes with, the tracks with me of the song, and just went in the studio up there and had them overdo. They just came up with their parts on the spot, basically.
Very, very
so
cool.
You'll hear that. I've got a copy of the CD for you.
Please. Yes, I would love that. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, if I might interject a little ad here. I'm on Facebook if anybody out there is interested. This is my Irish show leading up to St. Patrick's Day. So having a St. Patrick's Day special. The CDs are usually $15 each, but they're 2 for $20.
Awesome.
If you mention the saloon here.
Yes, that's great. 2 for $20, and you will not be disappointed. A solid CD all the way through. I said I was going to ask this question. You're in an inmate uniform on your Facebook page. If anybody's looking for Ray Doyle, yes, that's the one in the inmate uniform. You didn't escape or anything, I don't think. But
no.
What was the story behind that?
The story behind that was I was working with a gal named Stephanie Davis, who's a terrific songwriter. She lives in Texas now, but she was doing a video at this wonderful farm up in Northern California, and it's like an organic. For everything, it's everything they serve at this place. You can go there for a weekend, or where they have cabins and what have you. But it's way back in the hills. You have to go back on a dirt road, and everything is grown there on the spot. They have incredible gardens, and so the theme of Stephanie's video was harvest time. So she decided to shoot it there, and somebody from the local police department loaned us convict costumes for our part in it.
Yeah.
So that's where I got the picture. But I wore my Merle Haggard cap because I figured that was hopefully as closest to prison as I was ever going to get.
My gosh. Well, let's take a break. We're a little bit late on the 10 o'clock break here since we went over just a little bit. We got started a little bit late, but we're going to come back and get a question from Andy. I want to touch on, too, the Grand Ole Opry in the Kennedy Center, and then have another song and close out the show. It's flown by again, but you're listening to the Nashville Night Show on the Nashville Songwriters Radio Network.
You're listening to Music City's finest on the Nashville Songwriters Radio Network, NSRNlive.com. to more great music and interviews on Nashville Night.
Oh, yes, oh, yes. Andy Parton, you got a question for our very special guest, Mr. Ray Doyle here.
Going back to whenever he was working on the album, he actually had one song, I think, that he was going to perform here just shortly. And during the gold rush, a lot of the workers, the migrant workers there, had to deal with cholera. And so there was only one way to treat that. And in this one song that he was going to perform, he's going to accentuate that a little bit. And it's a good song because it applies to St. Patty's Day as we're approaching it. And I really enjoy it when I hear it because I kind of sing along. And we're at the Last Chance Saloon, one great place for music and good times. And so...
well, tell you what, let's get two songs in. You mind doing two more after you do this one? We can talk really briefly, then close it out with another one.
Sure.
Sorry, Andy.
Yes, that's good.
All right.
All right.
Well, I think the one you're talking about is the Jigger Boss. And in doing my reading for putting the Immigrant Trail CD together, I was interested in the Irish immigrant experience once they came to America and what happened. Because I was traveling around with a band all over the West, and everywhere I went, I was running into Irish people or descendants of Irish people, and I was thinking, okay, what did they go through, to get here, et cetera. And when a lot of those people, they got stepped off the ship or however they got to New York, they would be ready to take whatever kind of work they could get. A lot of them signed up to join the army. But the Erie Canal was being built in the right at the turn of the 17 to 1800s, and became a very important. It was like the first shortcut to the west, which I think at that time was Lake Erie, was the west. But so here was a canal dug by hand by immigrants from the Hudson Valley, the Hudson River, all the way over to Lake Erie. And it was a couple of 100 miles or so. And I read that a lot of guys were, getting cholera, and waterborne illnesses were a huge issue at the time. And people were dying left and right. And they said that they had this guy that they were calling the Jigger Boss, which a little aside here is that the Jigger Boss, that term shows up out west as the guy who was in charge of the boss's horses. The remuda of horses that the ranch would have, the Jigger Boss was in charge of that. So here was a different Jigger Boss. This was a guy they had with basically like a little bucket with whiskey in it, and he'd go up and down the lines of workers and give them a little shot every once in a while to keep them from say, okay, don't drink the water, here, keep working. So I guess whatever it takes to keep your workers happy. So I thought, okay, there's probably a song there, and I probably need an Erie Canal song anyway. So so here's the Jigger Boss, a little simple little tune. Dig me, boys, and shout hooray, the Jigger Boss is on his way. We'll get an extra dram today, and nothing if we dally. They told us that they'd pay us well to dig a bloody great canal from the Hudson to the gates of hell down the Mohawk Valley. Dig me, boys, and shout hooray, the Jigger Boss is on his way. We'll get an extra dram today, and nothing if we dally. We hoist the hod, swing the pick, till mouth is dry and tongue is thick. The water only makes us sick, and so they give us whiskey. Another hour, another sup, a dirty jug and an old tin cup, enough to keep our spirits up from the Hudson to Lake Erie. Dig me, boys, and shout hooray, the Jigger Boss is on his way. We'll get an extra dram today, and nothing if we dally. In rain, we work in snow, and every 30 feet we go. We plant 3 men 6 feet below, all down the Mohawk Valley. Dig me boys, and shout hooray, the jigger boss is on his way. We'll get an extra dram today and nothing if we dally. Take me boys and shout hooray, the jigger boss is on his way. We'll get an extra dram today and nothing if we dally.
Such and your songs are so they're so descriptive and melodically so different. That's what surprised me tonight. That was the old Irish folk feel. The last one, gosh, that was almost like a outlaw country type of feel with the one before that. I love it. Love both of them. It's honored in so many ways. A big honor to have you here on the show.
Thank you, Andy. I appreciate it very much.
Oh, thank you. You played on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry and the Lincoln and the Kennedy Centers. What was the feeling getting on all three of those famous stages? A kid from Ireland, it had a really long journey to get around to those places. What was the feeling like?
I was, gobsmacked, as they would say. The first time we played the Opry, that was with the band I was traveling with, Wiley's band, so it wasn't my material. But, it was, to get out there. The first time we played it was at Opryland, and I went out and they have the circle of wood from the Ryman stage, and you're going, oh my God, Hank Williams and George Jones and Patsy Cline, and our steel player at the time was so nervous he dropped his bar.
Oh wow!
And so he hit the ground and rolled. And so if he's listening, I'm sorry, man. But it was one of the biggest thrills of my life to be at the Grand Ole Opry. There was no doubt about it. And then we did it many times. We'd come through in the 90s. We'd come through town and we'd record here, and we'd usually play the Opry and maybe do a night at Robert's Western World down on Broadway.
Oh wow!
And I remember they were still smoking in the bars at the time down there.
Oh, yes,
and
yes.
I'd want to burn my clothes when I got home that night. It was just standing up on that stage with all it. But the other, the Lincoln Center gig was terrific. We went there and we played a swing dance in out front. There were a couple of bands, a very fine rockabilly band, Big Sandy and the Fly Ride Boys.
Yes, I know that
they're
name.
based in L.A., so we knew them from there. So it was kind of a cool thing, and so that was our first trip to New York City. And it was great because we got to the airport there, and we're all in cowboy hats and Carhartt jackets and looking
Getting a lot of
around
stares, probably.
starting to feel a little out of place, and we hear a gravelly voice go, "Hey, Wiley!" And it was Ramblin' Jack Elliott, who we knew from Elko.
Yes.
And he was out there. I think that was when his daughter had done the movie about him, and he was out there to do something. And here he was at baggage claim when we were in New York. So that was kind of cool.
Wow.
And and then we were at went out to Washington and did a thing for the archives out there, the Library of Congress, and we got to play out there, and they interviewed us for their collection, which was we're sitting down in the bowels of the Library of Congress going
that is
on,
amazing.
and they're talking to us, and I thought, boy, this is if my folks were only still alive to appreciate this,
Yeah.
But I think Wiley hadn't brought a guitar with him. We were just, they were talking to us individually and stuff. And then they said, well, we'll just sing a song. And they said, well, we don't have a guitar. And they said, oh, well, we'll get you. There's one around here somewhere. And they came in with a guitar case, and I look at it, and the tag on it says Burr Lives.
Well, I'll be danged.
So it was Burr Lives guitar, and so we all got to hold that. So that was another special moment, But if you're a performer, those are the kind of moments that you do live for. The first time we got to play the Ryman, we did the Ryman twice, and I remember that. Every minute of it. It's like I remember every minute of the 9-day ship ride from England to Quebec.
Yeah.
It's just certain things imprint on you, I think.
Oh yes.
And then hopefully you can draw on that stuff later when you want to get some energy into a song or something. Yeah.
Well, that's what it's something you say that because that's what I was going to say next. What's impressive about you are every place that you've been, everything that you've done. You are Ireland, you are Canada, you are L.A., you are gosh, just every type of
Midwest.
music, the Midwest, every type of music that you've experienced and done. Burl Ives guitar, the Beatles at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
You represent everything. It is something. The experiences that you've got to experience have really parlayed themselves into a totally unique character that really can. I hope, and I know it has. Andy and I hope all the listeners got the gist of this tonight and got influenced and inspired as we did, because you've had one heck of a journey, Ray, and what a big honor to have you on the stage tonight.
Well, thank you. But I think everybody has their own journey and has all of that stuff. You can tap into whatever it was you've been through, and if it's in the past, then you can embellish it a little bit. Take the
It's like a fishing story.
Exactly. How big was that fish? And that wasn't a fish. That was an accordion.
I love it. What you got coming up? What is 2017? We're getting into March here.
Well, I had like I said 2 weeks ago. I was out in Elko, and I went out on my own dime to just to enjoy it and see a lot of old friends I'd seen over the years. But when they found out I was going, they had put together. There was a benefit for a gal who we all know who had a horse accident, and so she needed some help with that. So they put together a benefit and turned it into a Guy Clark tribute as well.
Wow.
So we had 25 people. I think Ramblin' Jack was there. It's just everybody who was anybody on the cowboy scene was there and did a song, and so I got to do a tune. In Elko, so that was a big time for me, and then then I got that over with the first night there. That was Thursday night, and then from there through the weekend, the rest is kind of a blur. But a great. If anybody is interested in anything cowboy, check cowboypoetry.com. That's kind of Margot Metagrano does a great job putting that together.
Great website.
Terrific website, and you can see art that's terrific. They put lyrics, they put all kinds. She on Facebook. If you get into them on Facebook, periodically they'll post a poem and a picture and give background, and it's a great way to learn something about these people that are trying to keep the cowboy tradition still going.
Cowboypoetry.com. I highly recommend that.
Yeah.
I've read a lot about you there, and then I ended up reading about Wiley, and gosh, that was just the tip of the iceberg of all the cool stuff that's on that site. So
There's so
check it out.
much to Ray and his music. He's going to have to come back on our show.
Oh my gosh, yes.
We can
I
have
would love
another
that.
Anytime.
part
Okay,
two.
we'd love to have you back. We'll definitely get you back on.
And hopefully he may play one song that I like. It's probably one of the newest songs that he's wrote along with Going to Bodie.
I think this is Andy's passive-aggressive way of trying to get you to play a song. This is his way of making a request.
Hey, I'm taking requests tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Open the lines.
I see, Andy. You can.
This song here, it will leave an imprint on you. It's got another unique sound to it. And Ray,
Which one are you talking about, son?
You gotta get.
This song
Give me a
here
hint.
I want to hear is Buffalo Robe.
Oh wow! Yes.
All right. Well, this is about the time I wrote The Jewel. I was, thinking about the Tetons and what it was like up there, and traveling with a band, with a guy who was born in Montana. We went up there in the winter too, and experiencing 20 to 30 below is something. It's I can't even describe it. It's just it's cold. It's outer space cold, I guess.
No, he wrote.
Well, that's another sidebar. I was thinking about how bad it must. I mean, I knew how cold I was, and I was dressed. I had long underwear and thermal stuff, and I'm thinking, geez, these people were out there in a wagon,
Can't imagine. Yes.
and what the immigrants went through, and they didn't have Gore-Tex. What do they have? Well, the Native Americans, they'd been living there in the snow for a long time, and they had it figured out. And they had something called a buffalo robe, which was basically their heaviest duty, winter wear, which was a buffalo, skin. And probably saved a lot of lives. So I got inspired. I also like the way Buffalo rolled. Some words feel good in my mouth, you know, and so sometimes that's enough to get me started on a song. But so we'll see. My daddy built this cabin with his back to a cold hard freeze. In the cover of a canyon, in the shadow of some tall pine trees. But there's no real shelter, there's no done deal in the dead of winter, with your fears revealed like a pack of hungry wolves snapping at your weary. The snows came early and the winds howled fierce and wild, mingled in the night with the cries of a newborn child. It might have been luck, it might have been fate, a gift from a stranger we were taught to hate. But welcome is the sun, not a little bit too late. Hey, oh, come wind and snow, white man learns what the red men know. If you're gonna make a home where it's 40 below, bet your bones on a buffalo robe. When the sun is shining and the skies are blue and clear, you think it must be heaven, you can see from there to here. It's hard to keep your thoughts on the months ahead, but those who aren't prepared are the first ones dead. Refuse to live in fear what nature will allow. Winter's coming on, get ready for it now. Hey, oh, come wind and snow. Never thought hell would be so cold. Oh, when I die, oh, rest my soul in the folds of a buffalo robe. Hey, oh, come wind and snow. White man learns what the red men know. If you're gonna make a home on the Yellowstone, bet your bones on a buffalo robe. Bet your bones on a buffalo robe. Buffalo robe. Buffalo robe.
Wow. Great oil. Nashville night. Oh my gosh, great way to end it. I don't think we could have ended it in a bad way if you played any songs. How many songs you think you've written over your life?
Not a lot. Ones I'm willing to play for people, maybe a couple of dozen. You know, I like I said, I'm not prolific, but you know, when I do finish one, I really mean it.
Yes, I mean that's the thing: quality, not quantity. And I think that's overlooked in this world a whole lot in a lot of things. And I could see even in the songwriting, the craft, quantity is often overlooked for quantity. And then everybody suffers when that happens.
So much refinement in his music. Excuse me.
Awesome. I love it. Andy, got anything you want to add before the end of the show?
Oh, this has been great. I'm glad my friend is here on stage. We've got a lot of good things happening. Me and him, we've got a project we're kind of working on right now. And hopefully that later in the year down in McMinnville at the Park Theater, we've got something we're working on. something fairly big. So that's something
Awesome.
me and Ray's looking forward to. But I'm just happy that he came down and we've
man,
had
me
him on the
too,
show
yeah.
tonight. We've learned a lot. I learned
Yes.
a lot from him every time I listen to him. Ray has a way of teaching you about music in a different perspective, also in showing you how storytelling itself can be created and refined, as
Yes.
I pointed out earlier, so that way you can get the full picture of that story,
Yes.
and it can imprint you. It's been great.
This is one of those shows that my love of the craft gets renewed, and my desire to push myself into new territory. That I think there's no way I can't do anything this descriptive or all that, but no, that's what we do in life. We push ourselves into areas we never thought we could go. And my gosh, you're an inspiration. So many ways. And
Well, I thank you guys, Randy and Andy. I appreciate
Thank
it a
you.
whole bunch. Man.
Well-
It's a big thrill.
come back on the show. Ray Doyle, look him up on Facebook, cowboypoetry.com.
Cowboypoetry.com.
A new
and
website I've fallen in love with. I love that website.
CD Baby, too.
CD
maybe.
Baby, yes,
Yeah.
check him out on there and buy the CD. And everybody, thanks for Andy, awesome Andy, for introducing me to Ray and getting him on the show here, man. This has been fantastic.
It's been great. It's about introducing the audience to new music. That's what WFMC Jams, Heat FM Radio, the Nashville Songwriters Radio Network is all about. It's about allowing these artists to bring their material here live on the stage and let the audience, the listeners, decide on the material. Let them receive it and let them take it with them.
Well, they had to love it tonight. Yeah, take it with them. That's a great way to put it. Definitely a show that I'm going to be listening to the rebroadcast, and you'll be able to listen to it. It's going to be on your webpage as soon, or your Facebook.
Excellent.
Yeah, as soon as it gets over with. Thanks to producer Brian. And producer Brian, thank you for all you do.
Yeah, the mystery
My
man.
gosh.
Yeah.
He is an awesome dude. You got to meet him. He was here the other day with us, and
You keep pointing over to the corner, right?
well, because I got to have some kind of face to talk to. It's either you or the Last Chance Saloon sign chick behind you, the Budweiser girl, and she just frowns at me or looks at me like she doesn't know what I'm talking about. But thank you, man, for so much for everything you do. Chris Cataldo up there in New York City, thank you. Praying for your dad that he gets out of the hospital soon. Praying for you also and your family. And Philip Holland, your dad, Dorsey Holland, and you. You've had it kind of rough the last few weeks. You've been up there. We love you, brother. Praying and pray for Jason Adams' mom and her name. I'm going to pull her name up because I did not read her name the first time, because this stuff does matter. When you're praying for Jason Adams' mom, her name is Lori Adams. Lori Adams up in Michigan. She's going to start undergoing cancer treatments for liver cancer. We love you. We love your son. And so, therefore, we love you. And everybody out there that's not feeling well this time of year, we love you. Be safe, everybody. In the Coffee County, Warren County, Franklin County area, we're going to have some active weather starting at 3 o'clock this morning. So and you guys be safe too now.
Yeah.
But Ray Doyle, everybody, come on. I know my gosh, what a show.
Thank you guys very, very much.
What a show. Honored to have you on. Want to have you back on very, very, very soon. And everybody, do yourselves a favor. Check him out. Listen to this show again and again. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And for the Nashville Night Show, for Awesome Andy, say good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
This is Rockin' Randy. We're going to say good night for the Nashville Night Show on the National Songwriters Radio Network. We will see you next week.